Discovery and displacement. Dr. Elara Chen squinted at the pulsing readouts on her quantum computer. The numbers didn't make sense. They couldn't make sense. But there they were, defying everything she thought she knew about the nature of reality. "Hey, Raj," she called out, her voice echoing through the cavernous underground laboratory. "Can you come take a look at this?" Dr. Rajesh Patel, her research partner and longtime friend, emerged from behind a towering bank of servers. "What's up, Elle? You sound like you've seen a ghost." Elara gestured at her screen. "I think I might have. Look at these temporal distortion readings. They're off the charts." Raj leaned in, his brow furrowing as he studied the data. "That's impossible. These numbers suggest a massive temporal rift is forming, but that would mean—" "Time travel," Elara finished, her voice barely above a whisper. "We've done it, Raj. We've cracked the code." For years, the two scientists had been working on Project Kronos, a top-secret government initiative aimed at unlocking the secrets of time manipulation. They'd made breakthroughs in quantum entanglement and gravitational lensing, but this was beyond anything they'd dreamed possible. Raj straightened up, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "We need to inform the director immediately. This changes everything." Elara nodded, already reaching for the secure comm link. But before her fingers could touch the device, a blinding flash of light erupted from the center of the lab. The air crackled with energy, and a deafening roar filled their ears. When the light faded and their vision cleared, Elara and Raj found themselves staring at a figure that hadn't been there moments before. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin shimmered with an iridescent sheen, and its eyes glowed with an otherworldly intelligence. The being spoke, its voice a melodious hum that seemed to resonate within their minds. "Greetings, humans. I am Sixtar, emissary of the Galactic Concordat. I come bearing a warning and a plea for help." Elara and Raj exchanged stunned glances. This was definitely not part of the experiment they'd planned. What kind of warning?" Elara managed to ask, her scientific curiosity overriding her shock. Zixtar's expression grew grave. "In my time, 100 Earth years from now, your planet has fallen under the control of a malevolent alien race known as the Vorax. They used your own time travel technology against you, altering the course of history to ensure their dominance. I have come back to prevent this future from coming to pass." Raj shook his head, struggling to process the information. "But how? We've only just discovered the potential for time travel. How could it be used against us so quickly?" "The Vorax are masters of temporal manipulation," Zixtar explained. "They detected your breakthrough and saw an opportunity. In my timeline, they infiltrated your world governments, accelerated your research, and then used the technology to reshape Earth's past, present, and future." Elara's mind raced with the implications. "So, you're saying that by making this discovery, we've inadvertently set in motion a chain of events that leads to Earth's downfall?" Zixtar nodded solemnly. "Unless we act now to change the course of history." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red warning lights bathed the lab in an eerie glow. Rage dashed to a nearby console, his fingers flying over the keys. "Multiple temporal anomalies detected," he shouted over the din. "Something's coming through." The air shimmered and tore, revealing swirling vortexes of energy. From these portals emerged nightmarish creatures, the Vorax. They were towering insectoid beings with razor-sharp mandibles and multiple limbs ending in vicious claws. "We're too late," Zixtar cried out. "They followed me." Elara's training kicked in. She slammed her hand down on the emergency evacuation button, sealing the lab and triggering the facility's lockdown protocols. "We need to get out of here now." As they ran for the exit, dodging energy blasts from the invading Vorax, Raj grabbed a portable hard drive. "The research data. We can't let them get it." They sprinted through winding corridors, the sounds of destruction echoing behind them. Zixtar used some kind of energy weapon to hold off their pursuers, but it was clear they were outnumbered and outgunned. They reached the surface level, emerging into the cool night air of the New Mexico desert. The facility's camouflaged entrance stood in stark contrast to the chaos unfolding within. "My ship," Zixtar said, pointing to a sleek silver craft hidden among the scrub brush. "It's our only chance." As they raced towards the alien vessel, the ground trembled beneath their feet. A massive Vorax ship burst from the earth, hovering ominously above the research facility. Beams of sickly green energy lanced down, vaporizing everything they touched. Ilara, Raj, and Zixtar piled into the small craft. The aliens' fingers danced over holographic controls, and the ship hummed to life. They shot into the sky just as the Vorax turned their weapons on them. "Hold on," Zixtar shouted. "We're going to make a temporal jump." The ship's exterior blurred, and Ilara felt a sensation like being stretched and compressed simultaneously. Her stomach lurched, and for a moment she thought she might black out. When the disorientation passed, she looked out the viewport and gasped. The familiar New Mexico landscape was gone, replaced by a hellish alien world. The sky burned an angry red, and twisted metal structures jutted from the scarred earth like the bones of some gargantuan beast. When are we?" Rage asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zixtar's glowing eyes met theirs, filled with a mixture of sadness and determination. "Welcome to Earth, circa 2100 AD. This is the world the Vorax created, the future we must prevent." Ilara and Raj stared out at the ravaged landscape, the weight of their responsibility settling heavily upon them. They had unlocked the secrets of time, and now they would have to use that knowledge to save humanity from a fate worse than extinction. As the alien ship cloaked itself and descended towards the ruins of what was once a thriving human city, Ilara steeled herself for the challenges ahead. They were scientists thrust into the role of resistance fighters, with the fate of their entire species hanging in the balance. The battle for Earth's past, present, and future had begun. A changed world. The alien craft touched down in the shadow of a crumbling skyscraper, its cloaking technology shimmering as it adapted to the surroundings. Ilara, Raj, and Zixtar emerged cautiously, their senses overwhelmed by the stark reality of his future Earth. The air was thick with acrid smoke, and the ground crunched beneath their feet, a mixture of ash and shattered concrete. In the distance, massive factories belched toxic fumes into the blood-red sky, their architecture a hideous blend of human and Vorax design. "My God," Raj whispered, his eyes wide with horror. "What have they done to our world?" Zixtar's bioluminescent skin pulsed with a somber blue. "The Vorax are parasites, Dr. Pertol. They don't conquer worlds, they consume them. Earth's resources, its people, everything is being used to fuel their war machine and expand their empire across the galaxy." Ilara's scientific mind was already racing, analyzing their surroundings. But how did they do it? Even with time travel technology, how could they subjugate the entire planet so quickly? "They didn't do it quickly," Zixtar explained as they made their way through the ruins. "The Vorax are patient predators. They use the time travel technology they stole from you to insert sleeper agents throughout Earth's history. These agents subtly influenced human development, steering your species towards conflict and environmental destruction." Raj nodded grimly. "Weakening us from within, making us more vulnerable to invasion." "Precisely," Zixtar confirmed. By the time they launched their overt attack in 2050, humanity was already on the brink of collapse. It took less than a decade for them to establish full control. As they walked, Ilara noticed movement in the shadows. Human figures, hunched and fearful, scurried away at their approach. "The survivors," she murmured. "How many are left?" "Less than 1 billion, Zixtar said softly. "And those who remain are little more than slaves, working in the Vorax factories and mines until their bodies give out." Rage boiled in Ilara's chest. This was not how humanity's story was supposed to end. "We need to find the resistance," she declared. "There has to be one, right? Humans aren't exactly known for rolling over and accepting defeat." A ghost of a smile played across Zixtar's alien features. "You are correct, Dr. Chen. There is indeed a resistance movement, but they are badly outnumbered and outgunned. I have arranged a meeting with one of their leaders. Follow me." The trio made their way through the decaying urban landscape, avoiding Vorax patrols and their human collaborators. Zixtar led them to what appeared to be an abandoned subway station, its entrance half buried under rubble. After a series of complex knocks, a hidden door slid open, revealing a grizzled man with cybernetic implants covering half his face. He eyed the newcomers warily, his hand hovering near a makeshift energy weapon. "Zixtar," the man growled, "you better have a damn good reason for bringing outsiders here." "Peace, Commander Hayes," Zixtar said calmly. "These are the scientists I told you about, the ones who can help us change everything." Hayes's one human eye widened in recognition. Dr. Chen and Dr. Petal? But how? He shook his head. "Never mind. Get inside before a patrol spots you." They descended into the bowels of the earth, the old subway tunnels converted into a sprawling underground base. As they walked, Ilara and Raj marveled at the ingenuity on display. Jury-rigged power systems hummed, salvaged computers blinked with activity, and makeshift laboratories bustled with activity. "Impressive setup you have here," Raj commented, his eyes gleaming with professional appreciation. Hayes grunted. "We make do with what we can scavenge. The Vorax may have superior technology, but human creativity is still our greatest weapon." They entered a large chamber that served as the Resistance's command center. Maps and holographic displays covered the walls, showing Vorax troop movements and potential targets. A tall woman with close-cropped grey hair turned to face them, her bearing unmistakably military. "So, these are our time-traveling saviors," she said, her voice a mix of hope and skepticism. "I'm General Sofia Alvarez, overall commander of Earth's resistance forces." Ilara stepped forward, extending her hand. "It's an honor, General. We're here to help in any way we can." Alvarez clasped Ilara's hand firmly. "Good, because we're going to need every ounce of that famous Chen Petal genius. The Vorax have us outmatched in nearly every way. But now that you're here, we might finally have a chance to turn the tide." Over the next few hours, Ilara and Raj were briefed on the current state of the war against the Vorax. The alien invaders controlled all major population centers and resource-rich areas. The resistance was limited to hit-and-run tactics, unable to engage in open warfare. "Our biggest problem," Hayes explained, pointing to a holographic display of a massive Vorax mothership, "is their temporal shielding. Every time we manage to strike a significant blow, they simply use their time manipulation technology to undo it. We're fighting an enemy that can rewrite history on a whim." Raj stroked his chin thoughtfully. "But their temporal manipulation must have limits. The energy requirements alone would be staggering." Ilara nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "If we could disrupt their temporal shielding, even for a short time, it would level the playing field." "Exactly," Alvarez said. "And that's where you two come in. We need you to develop a counter to their time manipulation technology. Without it, we don't stand a chance." The weight of responsibility settled heavily on Ilara's shoulders. The fate of humanity rested on their ability to outthink an alien race with technology centuries beyond their own. "We'll need access to all the data you have on Vorax technology," Ilara said, "and samples of their devices if possible." Hayes grimaced. "Getting Vorax tech isn't easy, but we've managed to salvage some components from downed scout ships. I'll have our tech team bring everything we've got." As the Resistance members scrambled to gather the requested materials, Raj pulled Ilara aside. Are you sure we can do this? We're operating way outside our area of expertise here." Ilara squeezed her friend's shoulder reassuringly. "Raj, we cracked the fundamental laws of time travel in our own era. If anyone can figure this out, it's us. She gestured to the bustling resistance base around them. Besides, look at what humanity has accomplished even under these conditions. We're not alone in this fight. Raj nodded, a determined glint in his eye. You're right. Let's show these Voraks what human scientists are capable of. Over the next few days, Ilara and Raj worked tirelessly, poring over alien schematics and experimenting with salvage technology. They collaborated with the Resistance's engineers and scientists, marveling at the innovative solutions humans had developed to survive in this hostile future. One evening, as they were taking a short break, Zixtar approached them. Your progress is impressive, the alien said, but I fear we may be running out of time. My presence in this timeline has not gone unnoticed by the Voraks. They will be searching for us. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the base. General Alvarez's voice crackled over the comm system. All personnel, battle stations. We have multiple Voraks assault craft inbound. This is not a drill. Ilara and Raj exchanged determined looks. They weren't soldiers, but they were humanity's best hope. As the sounds of energy weapons and explosions echoed through the tunnels, they returned to their work with renewed urgency. The fate of two timelines, past and future, hung in the balance. And in this underground lab, surrounded by the last free humans on Earth, Ilara and Raj prepared to fight back the only way they knew how, with the power of human ingenuity and an unbreakable will to survive. Resistance rising. The underground base shook with the force of distant explosions. Dust rained from the ceiling as Ilara and Raj huddled over their makeshift workstation, frantically piecing together a prototype of their temporal disruptor. Hand me that phase inverter, Ilara said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Raj passed her the cobbled-together device, his eyes darting nervously to the reinforced door of their lab. Do you think the outer defenses will hold? He asked. Ilara paused her work, meeting her friend's gaze. They have to. We're so close, Raj. We can't let the Voraks stop us now. A crackling voice came over the intercom. Dr. Chen, Dr. Patel, status report. It was General Alvarez, her tone urgent but controlled. Ilara pressed the comm button. We're close, General. Maybe another hour. How are we holding up out there? We've repelled the first wave, but they'll be back with reinforcements. Whatever you're cooking up in there, we need it soon. As if to emphasize the point, another explosion rocked the base, this one closer than before. Alarms blared, and the sound of energy weapons fire echoed through the tunnels. Raj wiped sweat from his brow. An owler might be optimistic, L. We're working with tech we barely understand, trying to counter an alien time manipulation field. It's like cavemen trying to build a smartphone. Ilara finished with a wry smile. I know, but that's what humans do, Raj. We take the impossible and make it possible. Their conversation was interrupted by the lab door sliding open. Commander Hayes burst in, his cybernetic eye glowing an angry red. We've got incoming. A Vorax strike team has breached the outer perimeter. We need to move you to a secure location. Ilara shook her head firmly. No, we're too close to finishing. If we move now, we lose everything. Hayes opened his mouth to argue, but another voice cut him off. She's right. Zixtor entered the lab, its iridescent skin pulsing with determined energy. I will stay and defend them. You must hold the line, Commander. For a moment, Hayes looked like he might protest, but then he nodded sharply. Fine, but if they get past us, you get these two out of here, understood? They're our only hope. With that, he turned and sprinted back to the front lines. Zixtar moved to the lab entrance, its alien physiology shifting to form natural armor plating. Focus on your work, doctors. I will ensure you are not disturbed. Ilara and Raj shared a look of gratitude before diving back into their task. The next 45 minutes were a blur of frantic activity, punctuated by the sounds of battle drawing ever closer. There, Raj exclaimed, holding up a device that looked like a cross between a satellite dish and a Tesla coil. I think we've done it. Ilara ran a final diagnostic. Power levels are stable. If our calculations are correct, this should create a localized field that disrupts the Vorax temporal manipulation. A massive explosion rocked the base, and the lights flickered ominously. Zixtor's voice rang out, tinged with urgency. We must go now. The defenses have fallen. Clutching their prototype, Ilara and Raj followed Zixtor through a maze of tunnels. They emerged into the command center to find it in chaos. Resistance fighters were engaged in close-quarters combat with Vorax soldiers, nightmarish, insectoid creatures wielding advanced energy weapons. General Alvarez spotted them from across the room. "Get that device to the surface," she shouted, firing her weapon at an advancing Vorax. "We'll cover you." Zixtar led the way, using its alien strength and reflexes to clear a path. Ilara and Raj followed close behind, the precious temporal disruptor clutched tightly between them. As they neared the exit, a massive Vorax warrior loomed before them, its mandibles clicking in anticipation. Zixtor charged forward, engaging the creature in hand-to-hand combat. "Go," the alien shouted. "I will hold it off." Ilara hesitated for a split second, but Raj pulled her along. "Come on. We can't let Zixtor's sacrifice be in vain." They burst out of the underground base into the harsh light of the ruined world above. The sky was filled with Vorax ships, their ominous forms blotting out the sun. "There," Raj pointed to a nearby hill. "If we can get to higher ground, we might be able to affect more of their ships." They sprinted across the blasted landscape, dodging energy blasts and leaping over debris. Just as they reached the hilltop, a Vorax scout ship spotted them, swooping in for an attack run. "Now or never," Ilara shouted. She slammed her hand down on the activation switch of their device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a wave of invisible energy pulsed outward. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The attacking scout ship wavered, its form becoming translucent before solidifying again. It veered off course, crashing into the side of a ruined skyscraper. All around them, Vorax ships began to fall from the sky. On the ground, alien soldiers stumbled, their movements becoming erratic and uncoordinated. Raj let out a whoop of triumph. "It's working. We've disrupted their temporal field." Ilara allowed herself a moment of elation before focusing on the bigger picture. "Quick, we need to get this information to the Resistance. If we can replicate this device on a larger scale." Her words were cut short by a bone-chilling screech. They turned to see a massive Vorax queen emerging from the largest ship, its grotesque form seemingly unaffected by the temporal disruption. Insignificant humans, the queen's voice boomed in their minds. "Did you really think you could undo the Vorax dominance with your primitive technology?" The queen raised a clawed appendage, and Ilara felt an invisible force lift her off the ground. Beside her, Raj struggled against the same psychic grip. "Your species has been a particular annoyance," the queen continued. "Always resisting, always finding new ways to defy us. But no more. I will erase you from time itself." As the pressure around Ilara's throat increased, she saw movement from the corner of her eye. A battered but determined Zixtar was scaling the hill, carrying what looked like a Vorax energy cannon. With a primal yell, Zixtar fired the weapon. A blast of pure energy struck the queen, breaking her concentration. Ilara and Raj fell to the ground, gasping for air. "The device," Raj croaked. "We need to overload it." Understanding flashed between them. If they could create a temporal explosion, it might be enough to defeat the queen and turn the tide of the war. As Zixtar engaged the queen in battle, buying them precious seconds, Ilara and Raj worked feverishly to modify their invention. They rerouted power systems and removed safety protocols, turning their carefully crafted device into a temporal bomb. "It's done," Ilara said, her finger hovering over the activation switch. "But whoever stays to detonate it." Raj gripped her hand. "Together," he said firmly, "like always." They shared a look of understanding, years of friendship and shared purpose condensed into a single moment. Then, as one, they pressed the switch. The world around them seemed to fracture. Reality itself bent and warped, timelines colliding and separating in a dizzying display. The Vorax Queen let out a psychic scream of agony as she was caught in the temporal maelstrom. Elara felt herself being pulled apart, her consciousness stretching across multiple points in time. She saw flashes of the past, the moment of the Vorax invasion, the early days of human resistance. But she also glimpsed possible futures, Earth rebuilt, humanity reaching for the stars once more. Just when she thought her mind would shatter from the temporal overload, everything went white. Elara blinked, disoriented. She was back in her lab, the original lab before the Vorax invasion. Raj stood beside her, looking equally confused. Did we do it? Raj asked hesitantly. Before Elara could respond, alarms began to blare. But these weren't the alarms of a Vorax attack. These were the familiar warning sounds of a temporal anomaly detection. They rushed to the main console, and Elara's breath caught in her throat. The readings were off the charts, showing multiple timelines converging on this single point in history. We've created a temporal nexus, she breathed, a point where multiple possible futures intersect. Ray's eyes widened with realization, which means the future isn't set, Elara finished. We have a chance to reshape it, to prevent the Vorax invasion before it ever happens. As if in response to her words, a shimmering portal opened in the center of the lab. Through it, they could see glimpses of different timelines, some dominated by the Vorax, others where humanity had triumphed. Zixtar stepped through the portal, its form flickering between different versions of itself. You've done it, the alien said, its voice echoing with temporal harmonics. You've given Earth a fighting chance. But the war for your future is far from over. Elara and Raj exchanged determined looks. They had started this journey as scientists, seeking to unlock the mysteries of time. Now, they found themselves as the guardians of humanity's destiny, standing at the crossroads of infinite possibilities. Well, Elara said, a fierce grin spreading across her face, I guess we'd better get to work then. As they stepped towards the portal, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, one thing was certain, humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. Alien alliances. The temporal nexus swirled around Elara, Raj, and Zixtar, a kaleidoscope of potential futures and alternate pasts. As they stepped through the shimmering portal, Elara felt a sense of vertigo, her mind struggling to process the conflicting timelines bombarding her senses. Focus on your core self, Zixtar's voice resonated in their minds. Your consciousness is the anchor that will keep you stable in the nexus. Elara took a deep breath, centering herself. Gradually, the chaotic visions coalesced into a more coherent scene. They found themselves standing on what appeared to be the bridge of a massive starship. Through the viewport, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the backdrop of space. When are we? Raj asked, his eyes wide with wonder. A familiar voice answered from behind them. Welcome to the TSV Horizon, flagship of the Terran Space Vanguard. The year is 2150. They turned to see an older version of General Alvarez, her hair now completely silver, but her eyes still sharp with determination. In this timeline, she continued, we managed to repel the Vorax invasion and unite humanity under a common cause, protecting Earth and exploring the stars. Elara's scientific mind raced with questions. How is this possible? We were just in 2024, and the Vorax invasion hadn't happened yet. Zixtar's skin pulsed with a calming blue light. The temporal nexus you created allows us to access and influence multiple timelines simultaneously. This is one potential future, one where humanity triumphs. But it's not guaranteed, Alvarez added grimly. The Vorax are aware of the nexus too. They're fighting across timelines to ensure their dominance. As if to underscore her point, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. A holographic display sprang to life, showing a massive Vorax fleet emerging from subspace. Battle stations. Alvarez barked. The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as crew members rushed to their posts. Raj turned to Ilara, his expression a mix of excitement and fear. What do we do? We're scientists, not soldiers. Ilara's mind was already working on the problem. We may not be fighters, but we have something the Vorax don't: knowledge of multiple timelines and the ability to think outside their temporal box. She turned to Alvarez. General, what kind of temporal shielding does this ship have? State of the art, Alvarez replied, based on the designs you two created in the original timeline, but the Vorax have had time to adapt. Ilara nodded, an idea forming. Raj, remember our quantum entanglement experiments back in grad school? What if we could apply that principle on a larger scale? Raj's eyes lit up with understanding. Create a temporal entanglement between our ship and the Vorax fleet. That's brilliant, El. It could disrupt their ability to manipulate time without affecting us. I can assist with the implementation, Zixtar offered. My species has experience with large-scale quantum manipulations. Alvarez looked skeptical but nodded. Do it. We'll buy you as much time as we can. As the Horizon engaged the Vorax fleet in battle, Ilara, Raj, and Zixtar raced to the ship's engineering section. They worked feverishly, repurposing the ship's temporal shielding systems to generate a massive quantum entanglement field. The ship shuddered under enemy fire, and emergency alerts blared over the intercom. They were running out of time. Almost there, Ilara muttered, her fingers flying over the control panel. Reg, I need more power to the main emitter. Raj scrambled to reroute energy from non-essential systems. Done. But El, if we push it any harder, we risk overloading the entire power grid. We don't have a choice, she replied grimly. It's now or never. With a final command, Ilara activated the entanglement field. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a wave of invisible energy pulsed outward from the horizon. On the main view screen, they watched in awe as the Vorax ships began to flicker and distort. Some vanished entirely, while others seemed to merge with alternate versions of themselves. It's working, Raj exclaimed. We've disrupted their temporal cohesion. But their victory was short-lived. A massive Vorax dreadnought, apparently shielded against their attack, emerged from the chaos. Its weapons powered up, targeting the horizon. Just as all seemed lost, a new fleet of ships appeared, their designs unlike anything Ilara had ever seen. They engaged the Vorax dreadnought, their advanced weapons tearing through its defenses. Who are they? Ilara asked, stunned by this unexpected turn of events. Zixtar's skin pulsed with recognition. The Galactic Concordat. My people. It seems your actions have drawn their attention across timelines. As the battle raged outside, a shimmer of energy appeared on the bridge. From it stepped a regal-looking alien, similar in appearance to Zixtar, but radiating an aura of immense power and wisdom. I am High Arbiter Psylos of the Galactic Concordat, the being announced, its voice resonating with temporal harmonics. We have observed your struggle against the Vorax with great interest. Alvarez stepped forward, her posture wary but diplomatic. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you, High Arbiter. Your assistance is greatly appreciated. Psylos inclined its head. The Vorax threat extends beyond your world, beyond even this timeline. Their mastery of temporal warfare makes them a danger to all sentient life in the universe. The High Arbiter turned its attention to Ilara and Raj. You two have demonstrated remarkable ingenuity in the face of a technologically superior foe. The Concordat believes that humanity, with its unique adaptability and creative problem-solving, could be key to defeating the Vorax once and for all. Ilara's mind reeled at the implications. You're proposing an alliance. More than that, Psylos replied. We offer humanity membership in the Galactic Concordat. Together, We can pool our knowledge and resources to combat the Vorax threat across all timelines. Raj looked overwhelmed. This is incredible. But how can we make such a monumental decision on behalf of all humanity? Zixtar stepped forward. Remember, my friends, this is but one potential future. The temporal nexus you created allows for multiple outcomes. What matters is the choice you make here now. Ilara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She thought of all they had seen, the devastated Earth, the resilience of human resistance fighters, and now this glimpse of a humanity reaching for the stars. We accept your offer, High Arbiter, she said firmly. Humanity will join the Galactic Concordat. As soon as the words left her mouth, Ilara felt a shift in the temporal energies surrounding them. New possibilities blossomed, timelines realigning themselves around this pivotal decision. Silos nodded solemnly. Then let us begin. The war against the Vorax enters a new phase, and we must prepare. Over the next few hours, though time seemed a fluid concept in the Nexus, Ilara and Raj were introduced to technologies and concepts that pushed the boundaries of their scientific understanding. They learned of temporal mapping techniques that allowed for strategic planning across multiple timelines, and of weapons that could erase enemies from history itself. But with each new piece of knowledge came a growing unease. Ilara pulled Raj aside during a lull in the preparations. "Are we doing the right thing?" she whispered. "This temporal warfare, it feels like we're playing God with the fabric of reality." Raj nodded, his expression troubled. "I know what you mean. The power to rewrite history, to erase entire civilizations from existence, it's terrifying. Perhaps that is precisely why you are suited for this task," Zixtar said, approaching them. "Your hesitation, your ethical concerns, these are valuable traits. The Vorax wield temporal power without remorse. Humanity's conscience could be the balance needed to use this power responsibly." Ilara considered this. "You're right. We can't shy away from this responsibility. But we need to find a way to defeat the Vorax without compromising our humanity." A plan began to form in her mind. What if, instead of erasing the Vorax from history, we could find a way to change their past? To alter their development so they never become the threat they are now. Ray's eyes lit up. A temporal reformation instead of temporal warfare. That's brilliant. Zixtar's skin pulsed with cautious optimism. It is an ambitious plan, but one worth pursuing. We should present this idea to the Concordat. As they made their way back to the strategic planning session, Ilara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were no longer just fighting to save Earth or even humanity. They were fighting for the very nature of time itself, seeking a solution that could break the cycle of temporal conflict. The chamber fell silent as Ilara presented their idea to the assembled representatives of the Galactic Concordat. High Arbiter Xylos listened intently, its expression unreadable. "What you propose is unprecedented," Xylos said finally. "To reach back through time and alter the development of an entire species, the risks are enormous." "But so are the potential benefits," Ilara argued. "If we succeed, we don't just win this war, we prevent it from ever happening in the first place." A murmur of discussion rippled through the chamber. Xylos raised a hand for silence. "Very well," the High Arbiter declared. "The Concordat will support this endeavor. But be warned, the path you have chosen is fraught with danger. The Vorax will resist any attempt to alter their history with every weapon at their disposal." Ilara and Raj exchanged determined looks. They had started this journey as curious scientists, became reluctant warriors, and now found themselves as the architects of a plan that could reshape the destiny of multiple civilizations. As the chamber erupted into activity, preparations being made for the most ambitious temporal mission in history, Ilara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to dive deep into the past of one of the most dangerous species in the universe. The battle for time itself was about to begin. The battle for time. The Galactic Concordat's temporal research facility hung in the void between stars, a massive structure of gleaming metal and pulsing energy fields. Within its heart, Ilara and Raj stood before a device that defied conventional understanding, the Chronos engine, capable of sending consciousness through time and space. "Are you sure about this?" Raj asked, his voice tinged with concern as they made final preparations. Ilara nodded, her expression resolute. "We've run every simulation possible. This is our best chance to change the course of history without erasing it entirely." Zixtar approached, carrying 2 sleek silver headsets. "These will anchor your consciousness to your bodies here while projecting your minds into the past. Remember, you will be observers only, unable to directly interact with the environment, but will be able to influence key moments through subtle manipulations of probability fields," Ilara added, her scientific excitement evident despite the gravity of their mission. High Arbiter Xios entered the chamber, its presence immediately commanding attention. "The Vorax have detected our temporal preparations. They are mobilizing their forces across multiple timelines to stop us. We don't have much time." Raj took a deep breath. "Well, I guess that's our cue. Ready to make some history, or unmake it." Ilara managed a small smile at her friend's attempt at humor. They donned the headsets and lay down on the specially designed interface couches. The room around them hummed with energy as the Chronos engine powered up. "Good luck," Zixtar said solemnly. "The fate of countless worlds rests on your success." Ilara closed her eyes as the machine activated. There was a sensation of falling, of being stretched across an infinite expanse, and then they found themselves floating above an alien landscape, the primordial homeworld of the Vorax. Twin suns cast a harsh light over a world of crystalline structures and roiling acidic seas. In the distance, they could see early Vorax forms scuttling across the barren terrain. "It worked," Raj breathed, his voice echoing strangely in this phantom form. "We're millions of years in the past." Ilara was already analyzing their surroundings, her mind racing. "Look there," she pointed to a particular group of Vorax. "That genetic lineage, it's the one that eventually leads to their time manipulation abilities." They watched as these early Vorax used primitive tools to crack open crystal formations, feeding on the energy within. It was a harsh existence, one of constant competition and survival of the fittest. "If we can guide that evolution towards cooperation rather than pure competition," Ilara mused, "it might prevent the xenophobic expansion that defines their future." Reg nodded. "Let's do it. I'm initializing the probability field manipulator now." They set to work, using their advanced understanding of temporal mechanics to subtly influence key moments in Vorax development. A slight shift in climate patterns here, a minor genetic mutation there, small changes that would compound over millions of years. But they weren't alone in this temporal battleground. As they worked, they became aware of other presences, Vorax time agents from the future, working to counteract their efforts. "They're onto us," Raj warned as a particularly strong counter-manipulation nearly destabilized their probability field. Ilara gritted her teeth, focusing intensely. "We need to push harder, look for pivotal moments, events that could dramatically alter their cultural development." They raced through eons, watching as the Vorax evolved and developed their civilization. At each crucial juncture, they worked to nudge the species towards a path of peace and cooperation, while the Vorax agents fought to maintain their warlike trajectory. In what seemed like both an instant and an eternity, they arrived at a critical moment, the dawn of Vorax space travel. Their first encounter with another sentient species would shape their entire approach to the galaxy. "This is it," Ilara said. "If we can make this first contact peaceful, it could change everything." But the Vorax time agents were mounting a massive effort to ensure the encounter remained hostile. The probability fields fluctuated wildly as both sides poured their energy into this pivotal moment. Suddenly, a searing pain shot through Ilara's mind. She heard Raj cry out beside her. Their connection to the present was weakening. Zixtar's voice came through, distorted and faint. Temporal attack. Vorax fleet. Breaking through. Must return now. No, Ilara shouted. We're too close. We can't stop now. She pushed harder, drawing on reserves of strength she didn't know she had. The probability field around the first contact event blazed with competing energies. For a moment, the outcome hung in perfect balance. Then, with a final surge of effort, Ilara tipped the scales. The Vorax vessels powered down their weapons. A peaceful exchange began. As the new timeline solidified around them, Ilara felt a great weariness overcome her. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was the fabric of time itself shifting, realigning to this new reality. Ilara awoke to the sterile white of a medical bay. She turned her head to see Raj in the bed next to her, already awake and talking quietly with Zixtar. "Welcome back," the alien said, noticing her stirring. "You've been unconscious for 3 days." "Did it work?" Ilara asked, her voice hoarse. "Did we change things?" Zixtar's skin pulsed with a complex pattern of colors. Yes and no. The timeline has indeed been altered, but not precisely in the way we anticipated. As Ilara's strength returned, she and Raj were briefed on the new state of the galaxy. The Vorax were no longer the warlike conquerors they once were. Instead, they had developed into a reclusive but peaceful species, focused on scientific pursuits and rarely venturing beyond their home systems. "You prevented the worst-case scenario," High Arbiter Xylos explained. "The Vorax are no longer a threat to the galaxy, but the power vacuum left by their absence has led to complications." New holographic displays showed unfamiliar alien armadas clashing in space. Without the Vorax as a common enemy, other species had risen to fill the void, and not all of them shared the Concordat's peaceful ideals. "We've traded one problem for another," Raj said, his voice heavy with the weight of unintended consequences. Ilara's mind was already working on solutions. "Maybe not. We've proven that targeted temporal manipulation can work. Perhaps we can use this method to guide these new conflicts towards peaceful resolutions." Xylos raised a hand. "A commendable idea, but one that carries great risk. The more we manipulate time, the more unstable the fabric of reality becomes. We are already detecting temporal anomalies throughout the galaxy, side effects of our actions against the Vorax." As if to illustrate the point, a shimmer appeared in the air of the medical bay. It coalesced into the form of a human woman, one that Ilara recognized with a shock. "General Alvarez," she gasped. But this wasn't the Alvarez they had left behind. This version was younger, her uniform unfamiliar. "Not exactly," the woman said with a wry smile. "I'm Admiral Chen, Alice Chen, your daughter from a timeline that no longer exists." Ilara's mind reeled. She had no children, had never even considered it given her focus on her work. And yet, here stood a woman claiming to be her daughter from an erased future. Alice's expression grew serious. "I don't have much time. The changes you made are still propagating through the time stream, but I came with a warning and a gift." She handed Ilara a small device, no larger than a coin. "This contains data on all potential timelines, the good and the bad. Use it wisely. The power to shake time is a heavy burden." Before Ilara could respond, Alice began to fade. "Remember," her voice echoed as she disappeared, "the future isn't set. It's what you make of it." As the temporal anomaly closed, the room fell into stunned silence. Ilara stared at the device in her hand, feeling the weight of infinite possibilities. Raj was the first to speak. "So, what do we do now?" Ilara took a deep breath, her scientific mind already processing the implications of what they'd learned. "We do what we've always done. We study, we learn, and we try to make the best decisions we can with the information we have." She turned to High Arbiter Xylos. The Galactic Concordat was formed to promote peace and cooperation among species. That mission is more important now than ever. We need to find a way to guide the galaxy towards unity without resorting to constant temporal manipulation. Silos nodded solemnly. A noble goal, but a challenging one. The temptation to use our temporal technology to solve every problem will be great. Then we'll need to establish strict protocols, Ilara said firmly. A set of ethical guidelines for temporal manipulation. We'll use Alice's data to help us understand the long-term consequences of our actions. Raj smiled, recognizing the fire in his friend's eyes. Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us. Establishing a new field of temporal ethics, just another day at the office, right? As the group began to discuss plans for this new endeavor, Ilara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They had set out to save Earth from the Vorax, and in the process had become custodians of time itself. The challenges ahead were enormous, but so were the possibilities. She looked down at the device Alice had given her, a library of potential futures. With it, they had the chance to shape a better galaxy, not through force or conquest, but through wisdom and foresight. The battle for time was far from over, but now they had the tools to fight it on their own terms. As Ilara began to outline her ideas for a temporal ethics committee, she realized that their greatest adventure was just beginning. The future, all possible futures, awaited.